We are live. 2:14, huh? Oof.
Yeah.
Time keeps flying. Speaking of flying. Oh, let's do this. Okay. Episode 214 starting now. Welcome, Deep Space Explorers, to episode 214 of the Nerd Stravaganza podcast, where we appropriate limitless funds for deep exploration of the imagination. I'm Tom.
I'm Brian.
And I'm Cam.
And this week we'll be discussing NASA. But before we blast off towards that conversation, I'll remind our listeners to count down the days between episodes and launch with us every week via iTunes, where Mission Control tells me the stars the stars are aligned for favorable reviews. That didn't come out quite as I meant it to. I was going to make some kind of a starry pun. But yeah, we want stars and reviews and to climb the ranks, so we do appreciate your support there. And now, on with the episode. And that means it's time for the weekly weekly update. Brian, why don't you go first, man? What have you been up to?
Oh man, pretty much just MegaCon. Let's see, I was traveling Friday at the con, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, comatose Monday, just recovering since then. A lot of differences this year. You know, everybody knew it was different ownership, but I had a great time. Huge vendor floor. Artist alley. They had a tattoo alley this year.
Wow.
Like people getting tattooed all weekend long, just lined up.
Wow.
Tons of celebrities. Like just they needed their own celebrity alley. I don't even know. So much to do there. I spent probably 10 hours looking at vendors, and Lester was out taking pictures of all kinds of cosplay. Great weekend. Nice hotel. Sat around the pool to recover afterwards. Fun time.
Nice, man. MegaCon's certainly the largest, and in a lot of people's opinion, the best convention in Florida.
I don't know. I need to convince you guys to do an episode on this. Two of my friends went for the first time this year. Absolutely loved it. Lester and I have been probably 5, 6, 7 times. Absolutely loved it. You get on the internet, Facebook, Reddit, 4chan. Oh, yeah, it sucked. Oh, it was so corporate. It was terrible. I'll never go again. It was such a waste. Man, nerds are assholes.
Yeah, they really are. I mean, was it appreciably different from other years? Was this the first year under the new corporate ownership, I guess? Or
This was the first year under the ownership, and there were definitely some changes, and I mean, I didn't like all of them. Like, there were no video games.
Oh, really? Just
There was no video game room. Like, it's usually like around the clock, crash in, play whatever. Like, nothing like that. They had like a Pokemon tournament Sunday, and that was it. That was like the only thing.
Weird.
So, didn't love that. You gotta have video games at a convention. I don't know. I kind of thought the cosplay was a little tacked on, like kind of weird. Like the cosplay contest was Saturday at 8 after almost everybody had already left. And I don't know. Like there was something else big going on at the same time. Like just a little weird. Maybe that was just the only time that big venue was free or something. And they changed their hallway policy, which, God, I'm kind of torn on. Like, once upon a time, you could come to the convention center and just hang around. And, public space, they let you do whatever. So all these kids were lined up, leaning on the wall, talking, playing loud music, yelling, screaming, doing whatever. And this year, you needed a wristband to enter the building.
Oh, wow.
And that pissed people off I can't get in for free? Fuck this place.
So they wouldn't pay to go on the convention floor. They would just come and dress up or just kind of hang out with their friends, but not spend any money, basically.
Right.
Well, not necessarily not spend money. I mean, that if I'm recalling, I mean, I've been there a million times, but like, are you talking about like that area, Brian, where you walk in and it's like just like that big long hallway sort of in the front of the convention center, and then you could just hang out there, but then if you wanted to go into the con, there was like all those doors to the left, basically, that you could just walk, or the right, depending on which way you came in. You could just go in using your wristband, right?
Yeah. Basically, they had checkers at the panel rooms and at the entrance to vendors instead of at like the entrance to the building once upon a time, and now they got away with that.
Ah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's where all the food was, or a lot of the food was out there. So, I mean, I'm sure they were still selling food to those people, but, I mean, I guess I understand why they did that, because there's been times when I've been there, and that's where most people, like, with cosplays would stand out, and people would take pictures, So you had just this massive crush of people trying to get to different places, and did that alleviate that problem, or was it still was that problem still there?
They got a bigger hall this year, so it's hard to quantify. Did the bigger hall help? Did the new policy help? Did both help? It did not feel as crowded as it used to, but there were a lot of factors.
Gotcha.
If I recall correctly, don't you have to exit the main hall and go into the hallway to get to the breakout panel rooms?
Yeah. Everything branches off that hallway.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. Well, I'm kind of curious as to how much space, like the Orange County Convention Center, or the Orlando Convention Center, or whatever it's called, is absolutely massive. Like it's the biggest convention center I've ever seen, and I've seen quite a few. Are they starting to have like a significant footprint on that property, or?
Well, depending on how familiar you are with the property, they were actually back in West Hall this year, which is like I think the biggest, and they solely occupied West. Like in the past, they've shared West.
Right.
So really big. I haven't seen any numbers released, but probably 80, 100,000 again.
Cool, man. That's awesome. The convention center itself, as a structure, is almost as impressive to me as the conventions. Like it's so damn big.
Yeah, they need it there in Orlando. They have conventions like every day.
Yeah, they do. I hear they're going to be putting a maglev train in from the airport to that convention center someday too. Which, no, seriously, which sounds badass.
I'll believe it when I see it.
Yeah, me too.
We've been waiting for the light rail from Tampa to Orlando, from Orlando to South Florida. I mean, we'll all be in the grave before that happens.
Maybe. Oh well. Anyway, grim thoughts. Glad you had a good time at MegaCon, Brian. Anything else?
No. That's about it. I have no memory before that, and after it, I haven't done very much.
You had a birthday. That's a
yeah. I had a birthday for the first day of the con. Well, the first day of my con.
Happy belated from the fellow Ganza convention goers.
Thank you.
Yes.
All right, Cam. I don't know if you had a birthday, but it's your turn. It's your special day now.
Not have a birthday, thank God. Friday night was pretty cool. We just had sort of a night of impromptu gaming at a friend's house. Our buddy Vaughn had people over. We played Mysterium, which we hadn't played in quite a while, and everyone loved it. There was like 4 or 5 people there that had never, 3 or 4 people that had never played it, including my companion. So I was like, all right, I'll do it. And of course, it's a 6-player game, but with 7 with a sort of a DM or GM, the friendly ghost that helps you along the way. And we had just the right amount of people. I was the ghost. Unfortunately, they did not. They made it all the way to the end, but were not able to guess who was the final killer was. But they loved it, and it actually started a whole thing that, like, I guess now I'm going to be having a 4th of July party at my house, and it's going to be like a Mysterium murder mystery based sort of party. So
nice.
You guys are invited. I'm giving you the save the date now. and maybe we'll invite a lucky listener if they're inclined to want to come and play Mysterium with us. So that was pretty cool. Saturday afternoon, I did my Munchkin Marvel demo at the Adventure Game Store, which was a hit. Everyone loves Munchkin Marvel, and it's actually pretty fun. They've introduced a few new mechanics. Regular Munchkin, you guys know, you just got to go up 10 levels, and you got to, kick the door down, you fight monsters, all that stuff. Well, now you basically are playing an Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D., and you get this little placard that helps you sort of track your levels rather than having to use like a D10 or something. And each one actually has, well, you can be either a male or a female, which sort of matters not in like the social context, but matters like some cards give special bonuses to females, some cards give special bonuses to males. So that's cool. And then each one also has sort of a special effect. Like you get a +2 if you fight a monster when you're kicking down the door, or you get a +2 if you're fighting a monster when you go looking for trouble out of your hand, like things like that. I mean, you have to be versed in Munchkin to sort of know what I'm talking about. But it was a good time, very successful. I think Brian at the Adventure Game Store sold all of his copies except for one, which I think is also already maybe spoken for. So I think that was successful. Saturday night we did a trap room. Have you guys ever done one of those?
It's interesting. You should mention that, but go on.
Yeah, we did a trap room here in South Florida over on Oakland Park Boulevard, which was awesome. It was a pirate-based theme trap room, and it was actually a very large group. It was about 12 of us, and the guy told us that we were the 7th fastest time ever to do the trap room. But he was saying basically that was with a group of like half our size, 6 or 7 people. He's like, with a group your size, he said he's never seen anyone do it that quickly. We did it in like 45 minutes, 46 minutes, something like that. You get an hour. So we did it with about 15 minutes to spare. But it was fun, super fun. And it's hilarious to see your friends and like all of their personalities and how they sort of come out when like pressure and time and like problem solving's involved. You get some people that just sort of sit back and like let things happen. Other people that are like, no, we got to do this and we got to go. It's just really funny to see how everyone reacts to those kind of scenarios. But we had a great time. Definitely would go back and do it again. And then Sunday, just did more gaming at the Adventure Game Store sponsored game night at Landlubbers. That was fun. And Monday, it was my mother's birthday, Memorial Day as well. I went and saw X-Men Apocalypse.
Oh, how was that?
Took her to see it. I enjoyed it. I liked it. It's a huge departure from the comic books, which, what isn't these days. But it was a much better X-Men movie than the last one. And I enjoyed it. Thought it was good.
Then Days of Future Past, was that the last one?
Yeah, I like that one. I think I was thinking of the one before that.
Oh, First Class?
Yeah. And I mean, I enjoyed it. I'd say it was on par with, Civil War and Batman vs Superman.
Good.
I'd say it's good, not great.
Good
enjoyable.
Enough.
Yeah.
Nice.
And gearing up for Origins, which is in about 2 weeks. Origins board gaming convention. I'll be in Columbus, Ohio for that. And I'm starting a new RPG campaign with some friends. On Sunday, we're going to be starting our character development and creation. It's going to be on the Pathfinder platform.
Wow.
But we're going to be doing it. The world that we're going to be using is like Game of Thrones or Song of Ice and Fire. We haven't decided whether it's going to be. It's not going to be current events. It's going to be either like a couple hundred years in the past or a couple hundred years in the future. So, and we're not going to be playing like Daenerys or like any of the like major characters in the books and show. We're just going to be like, maybe a lesser house lord or a lesser house knight or a hedge knight or wildling or something, and just navigate our way through.
Go back to like the era of the First Men and have the elves. I mean the children of the forest.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's actually, we had sort of thought about that, like the Andals and the First Men, and maybe figuring something out like that. But I don't know. We'll see. We'll Tim is actually DMing, our buddy Tim.
Oh, that should be good.
So we'll see. We'll see how that turns out.
By the way, speaking of a Song of Ice and Fire, have you encountered the like apologists who, when you basically describe the Children of the Forest as elves get defensive. They're not. They're not elves. They're not. Like they blatantly are.
Yeah, I mean I have, but it's just like you got to pick your battles, man. That's my philosophy in life. It's like, am I going to sit here and have a 20-minute useless conversation with someone,
Well,
or am I just going to be like, okay, guy, and just keep it moving, you know?
It's almost not a battle. I mean, like, okay, like elves are like a fantasy trope, and like though Ice and Fire is awesome, like they're fucking elves, man. That's something you really can't get away from in fantasy.
Yeah.
No, they're the elder race. Okay, sure.
I mean, they're dwarves and they're dragons. Why aren't there elves?
Right.
Or why aren't there fairy?
Well, there are elves. It turns out. So. Anything else?
That's it, man. That was a pretty packed week.
Yeah, that you got a lot going on. I'm not sure if I would describe the listener who gets that invite as lucky. But, well, elves. Anyway, over to me. I don't have a lot in the way of nerdy stuff. I had a lot of family stuff going on. Went out of town to attend a graduation for my niece. Well, I shouldn't say she's not nerdy. Both my nieces are nerdy in that they get really good grades and they are very academically inclined, very interesting people. So, she graduated, she made it, and she's going off to a good school and off to a good career. So, funny you should mention a trap room because the whole family went out and we did an escape room.
That's what I meant, escape room, trap room, whatever. Yeah.
Whatever. I got the concept. This one was a museum heist, and we were basically trying to find all the stolen loot and replace it in the museum before the patrons showed up. We were trying to save the museum, basically. And, it's so interesting. Like, I'm definitely more of a, like, just sit back, survey the room, see what's unfolding, see if people are coming out at any clues. And when I fixate on a particular thing, I kind of just do that to the exclusion of whatever anybody else is working on. Which comes in useful when they're ready to work on that thing, I found. So, yeah, we solved it. We got it in a pretty decent time. So it's fun, man. I want to talk to you more about these after. These are really cool. So we could do some off-the-air discussion because what a cool concept, man. And
it's a great concept. Yeah, I'm surprised that it took this long for it to be like a thing. You know what I mean? Because it's not like that high tech that we just had to wait till now to have to have it happen. You could have had it 30 years ago. You know what I mean?
In fact, other than some pretty impressive mechanical and pneumatic stuff going on, and the one I played, like high tech isn't how I describe it, which gets into what we'll discuss after the show. Yeah. There's some definite room for some really cool stuff in that space, I think.
For sure.
But yeah, awesome. I really want to go do more of those now. So we're like looking for local ones. We're gonna go check those out.
Yeah, I'll give you the info on the one we did. It's pretty good.
All right, cool. Yeah, that's it, man. Just basically that. A little bit of traveling. I want to say that I've done something nerdy, but nope. That's it. Just ready to get back in the swing of things. I've got like a hankering to play some Battlefront maybe or something now that I'm back, but we'll see how that all shakes out. And that's it. I wish I had more to report, but you had a full week, Cam, and so did you, Brian. So you made up for my shortcomings. And with my update now out of the way, there's got to be some news out there that somebody can cover for us.
I'm here with the news extravaganza, if you are inclined to let it shine, as they say. Tom, this one made me. This news article sort of caught my eye because of you. Asus has announced that they are coming out with a new home robot, and it sort of looks like Wall-E. It's really cool. It rolls around sort of like BB-8, but it doesn't have like the magnetic like bottom and top. It just sort of has like a rolling bottom with like almost looks sort of like a desk lamp, but it has like a touch screen display and face. And it's really cool. It's called the Zenbo. And the pictures and the video are awesome. I mean, obviously, they hype those things up. It's never going to work like, how it looks in the video and the pictures, but it seems pretty cool. I know you have amassed quite a robot army at your place. This might be something you want to look into.
Yeah, I'm looking it up right now.
Zenbo, super cute. We've talked just as recently, I think, as last week about comic books and where they're going and what's going on. A app called Cosmicology has announced a new service that's sort of like a library card for comics. Unfortunately, you're not going to be getting any like DC or Marvel titles, but pretty much you can get almost any other title, like all the independent titles, a bunch of manga, and a bunch of really cool like just indie stuff you can get for a pretty low monthly fee.
Cool.
I might check that out for like a month. I think they're offering a free trial, so I might check it out and see if it's anything I'd be interested in. You were talking about Battlefront and gaming. This kid in Brazil was playing his PS4, and he was like playing, and he kept getting pissed because the PS4 would turn on and off and release this like really stinky odor.
Oh.
And so he got hacked off. He finally called tech support. I guess they sent someone over to his house. The electrician comes over his house, opens it up, and there was a dead snake in his PS4.
Oh my God.
Yeah, that was like fused to the motherboard in a couple different places and was like just got fried alive inside of his console. The video is on YouTube. It's actually pretty amazing. I mean, they're like talking in Portuguese, so it's kind of like hard to understand what they're saying, but the video is pretty cool. Speaking of electronic devices not working very well, Samsung basically has just come to the conclusion that Windows 10 is not going to work on their devices. So they're just basically telling everyone, if you own a Samsung device, do not download Windows 10.
Wow.
Yeah, they're basically just giving up on it.
Wow, that's bad, because I
yeah.
like Windows 10, and I thought it was well received.
I'm a huge fan of Windows 10. Of course, I have a Microsoft device, Surface, so it works, knock on wood, so far so good, pretty well on it. But I guess, I mean, and it's crazy to me that someone the size of Samsung, I mean, it's not like Windows 10 was a big surprise. You know what I mean? And it's not like Windows doesn't work with all of their vendors and anyone that's going to be deploying their software to their platform. I mean, how can it take you this long to not get it right? I don't know.
You would think that they would have worked closely with the integrated with Windows, but that's a good question, man.
Yeah, I don't own Samsung devices, and I don't plan to, so I'm not worried about it. Speaking of thumbs down on certain things, an apartment complex in Salt Lake City has put into their lease, and I always like to throw in a little bit of legal stuff, especially this. Leasing is actually one of the classes I teach at one of the local law schools here. They have they started to try to require all of their tenants to sign a lease addendum that made them friend their website, their Facebook page, basically, saying that you have to friend our Facebook page, and if you don't do it within 5 days, it's going to be a breach of your lease.
What?
Yeah. So that got them into a bunch of hot water. They've since backpedaled and said, well, it's not that we weren't really saying that we were going to kick you out. We just want everyone to be a community. So we want everyone to be our friend on Facebook, and they're trying to put a positive spin on it. But I thought that was pretty funny. I get doing it on an ongoing basis, so anyone new that signs up, you basically tell them, hey, look, if you want to sign this lease, part of it is you have to be our friend on Facebook or whatever. But you can't just try to ram an addendum down someone's throat and tell them they're going to get kicked out.
But so that is okay to have something kind of trivial like that just added to a lease contract. Like a contract doesn't have to actually do with what's being transacted between people. I'm not really.
Well, if it's in the contract, it has to do with what's being transacted. I guess it's sort of you know what I mean. It's sort of like the old adage. That's how all these guys in Congress get all these things put in. It's like a gay rights amendment or something, but 95% of it gives road building money to South Carolina or what, you know what I mean? They slip in all these things so that for people to vote for it. Really, what it comes down to in Florida anyway, as long as you have a contract, you have a contract as long as there's a meeting of the minds and there's ample consideration, meaning you're getting something, I'm getting something, and everyone's over 18, so they can pretty much put whatever they want in there.
So replace my roof.
Yeah.
So replace my roof and feed my puppy. That can be a
It
contract.
could be. Yeah, if someone signs it. I mean, if they sign it,
Okay, I thought they had to make sense. All right.
they're on the hook. Yeah. And shooting off into space and talking about one of our favorite topics, Star Wars. It appears that Rogue One may be not what the studio envisioned. They've ordered a bunch of reshoots for June. I guess they weren't happy with what it started shooting back in August, and I guess they were in the editing process, and they decided, well, hey, some of these things aren't what we wanted, so they've scheduled a series of reshoots for June, maybe to get the movie to a different flavor or a different a theme, or I don't know what's going on in their head, but some people are all up in arms thinking, oh, that means the movie's going to suck. I mean, reshoots, I'm not an industry expert when it comes to movies, but I mean, I think they're pretty commonplace, especially with big films like this. They really want to make sure they get it right, so if there's something that they notice that's off, they just go ahead and do a reshoot, but
yeah.
I don't know, we'll see.
I was really interested in this because when that story broke, everybody was just like, fucking Disney, they want nice Lego-style funny movies. They don't want anything serious and dark and blah, blah, blah. I actually read a little bit, just the littlest bit into it. It is pretty much every single movie reshoots.
Yeah.
It is almost a guarantee that there will be some reshoots.
Yeah, or they read, do they do voiceovers? They do, because you can't catch everything on the first go round. It's such a massive undertaking.
Not to mention, after how awesome Episode 7 was, that's where the bar is. That's what you have to hit now, and I'm not at all surprised that they didn't. I'm not at all surprised that they asked for some changes. I mean,
which, by the way, 7 had tons of reshoots.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, and you know what? Yeah, and you know what? It's good that I say, hey, do it till you get it right, man. If there's something that you think needs changing, fix it. That's fine. Don't just slap something together and be like, okay, here it is.
Yeah, the trailer looked badass, so it looks promising. I'm sure it's going to be great.
Yeah, I'm not worried about it. And with that little bit of space news, I will hand it back over to you, Tom.
Okay, thanks. Let's talk about Star Wars the rest of the night.
I have no problem with that.
Yeah, all right. Let's get the party started and discuss tonight's topic now. Speaking of space, very good segue, Cam. A topic that I wanted to discuss for a couple weeks as news has come trickling out is NASA, our space agency here in North America. And actually, no, it's not. It's National Aeronautic and Space Administration. So no, it's not North America. I was going to say, wait, are the Canadians and Mexicans part of our space program? No. So here in the United States, our space program, and Congress has given it some direction recently, and since they are the ones handing out the shekels, I suppose they have some say. And there is a committee dedicated to funding NASA, and they do seem to be very enthusiastic about their job. So I don't want to second guess their enthusiasm or support for the agency. But I'm curious as to whether or not you guys think NASA should be given more or less autonomy, or what their real mission should be. But before we get into that, let me kind of go over some of the developments that have gone on in the past few months. So one thing they said is they want NASA to send a mission to explore Europa, at least from orbit, and then to sort of set the stage for a second mission to actually get some kind of a lander down on the surface to explore it. And for those of you who don't know, I know you guys definitely know this, Europa is one of the moons of Jupiter, and they are pretty sure it has a liquid ocean of some kind, and they would like to go there looking for life or signs of life. And I think I heard Bill Nye on a podcast mention that a little bit cheaper way of doing that, besides landing a vehicle on the planet and having it drill through who knows how much ice into the ocean, might be to look for some venting that's going on into space and fly a spacecraft through that. I I think that was Europa, and I hope that's not a completely different moon, and I got it wrong. But I only bring that up to say that Congress might like the idea of landing like a cool spaceship on the surface and drilling down through ice, but that might be something you want to let the scientists kind of come up with a feasibility study for.
Yeah.
So that's one thing, Europa, and that's cool. Another thing is the big captivating thing in most people's imagination, I think, is Mars. And NASA, they have this mission plan to go out and grab a chunk of an asteroid or an asteroid and tow it into, I think, lunar orbit, and then use that as like a practicing, as a playground, as a practice ground for Mars. It sounds bizarre to me, but I don't, not being a NASA scientist, I don't understand the appeal. Definitely a lot of technology involved, grabbing and changing the position of a small celestial body.
Mm-hmm.
So that sounds kind of cool, but the Appropriations Committee, I guess is the proper name for this committee, was like, nah, we don't like that. Stop that. Go to the moon and go back to the moon and then go to Mars. That's what we want you to do. We don't really understand what this whole asteroid thing is all about, and we're not really into it. So here you have Congress, while writing a much bigger check than NASA had even originally asked for, or it looked like they were originally going to get, kind of setting direction. And I guess that's Congress's job, because NASA is answerable to the government. But I guess my question is, what do you guys think should be the core mission of NASA? Should it be furthering science or capturing the public imagination with cool things like going to Mars? Or do you have to put people on Mars and capture the public imagination to get the funding to do the boring science?
I mean, I don't really think either of those is a bad idea. Like, I think they're both kind of like wins. I don't really understand Congress, well, not Congress as a whole, but this panel part of Congress position that the asteroid is, they said it was unfeasible, didn't they?
Yeah, so Congress seemed to. This is where I kind of draw the line, because we have agencies and employees who work for the government who are experts. Congress people, by definition, are not. There may be some scientists out there, but they're not astrophysicists. They're not experts. And it seemed a little bit to me, Brian, like they were dictating, like, oh, you can't get an asteroid and move it into orbit. That just sounds, technically unfeasible. It doesn't further our interests. Like, if you want to speak broadly and say, we want to go to Mars, does this get us closer to going to Mars? At least let NASA come back and say yes, and here's why. But to weigh in on technical feasibility, I think is a little outside their wheelhouse.
So it's election season, and everybody's talking about like just how great the lesser evil is. So I think most of us are down on government for the most part right now. Myself for sure. I really kind of wonder what the asteroid lobby is like, because there's a huge conglomeration that want to actually like pull in and mine asteroids. James Cameron and the Google people and like a bunch of very wealthy businesses want to do that. And I wonder if this has got anything to do with being steered away from something that can be privatized.
Oh, so you think maybe the big asteroid may have stepped in behind the scenes and said, like, keep your big government probes away from our asteroids.
Not even necessarily like a bad thing. Like, if they're going to do that, maybe NASA should save the funds for Mars. So I don't necessarily think it's like a conspiracy theory, but I'm kind of curious. Like, we might be able to accomplish both those things.
Yeah, if commercial space operators want to go take care of that, yeah, why not? Why not just go for what people really want to do, which is go to Mars?
Now, I will say, and again, not an astrophysicist, but mining asteroids sounds like a hell of a way to raise funds for Mars.
Yeah, especially if there's at present rare earth minerals, things that are scarce here on Earth. It would be kind of a potential Spanish gold rush, as it were.
Yeah.
Until we flooded the market and totally devalued the metals we pulled back. But for a while, Spain got really rich off that and did a lot of exploring. So that could be us potentially.
Which is, I mean, not exactly a pipe dream. That's pretty likely.
Yeah, I'm digging that idea now. Let's be the Spain of outside extraterrestrial minerals and bring really expensive stuff nearby, mine it, and profitably somehow, and get rich off of it, and then use that to fund awesome space missions. I love it.
Yeah, and bring back space viruses that infect the world.
Well, I mean, I'm hoping there are not horrible creatures, horrible life forms and pathogens existing on these asteroids. But
we broke this asteroid open, and it happens to be an egg with an alien inside that's going to devour our Earth. Fine. What could go wrong?
No, nothing. What do you guys think of Mars? Do you think so? From what I've been reading and just listening to in the science media, because that's the extent of my scientific knowledge, sending probes and rovers and that kind of stuff, that's one thing. That costs a certain amount. But sending human beings, keeping them alive for the duration of the mission, retrieving them and bringing them back, that sends the cost just to Mars. Pardon the expression. As cool as it would be to have a human being step foot there soon, in my lifetime even, is that getting us further down the road scientifically? I mean, I guess the case could be made that we probably need to look at moving to Mars before we wreck this planet. But I don't know. What do you guys think about that?
Well, I think we're doing less and less on Earth. I mean, us, period, are doing less and less things that machines could not do in the past. So it's almost two things, two topics for me. Number one, I mean, we should get off the single rock. However we accomplish that, Moon, Europa, space stations, Mars, that's one thing. But if we could accomplish that without sending someone to Mars, just send a robot to Mars. That sounds great. I mean, I think we're using drones for everything anyway, right?
Yeah. It's a little more. I think the pisser with the drones is it takes several minutes for your instructions to get there, but still, it just, I think we could do a lot more Spirit and Opportunity rover missions for the cost of getting people to Mars. But it's even as I say that, I concede it's not as cool. It's not as awesome. We're not sending people there to walk around. And
I think we had kind of talked about this in one of our future fantasy episodes. Why were there any people in Star Trek?
Right.
Oh yeah.
Just to seduce green people.
Yeah, the ship could do everything, and lots
the ship
of
could do everything without them. I mean,
yeah, you get the sense that the computer didn't actually need the humans. Well,
why bother?
Well, that gets into a real philosophical question. Why bother with anything? I mean, if we're not part of it, it doesn't mean anything to us. And,
so I have discussed this professionally many times. If you want to accomplish something, and your talent is in leadership, there's no need for you to know how to swing a hammer. There's no need for you to know how to lay nails.
True.
I mean, I think you're still part of it.
Yeah, I agree with you, but for some people, when it comes to space, if we're not laying the footprints down, it just doesn't resonate. I don't think sending automated rovers to the moon would excite anybody, unless you made them internet controllable by people.
Ugh.
Then people would wreck them.
I would make a "we draw cocks on the surface of Mars" joke, but we already did, so never mind.
Wait, nobody drew a cock on Mars, did they? I hope you're kidding.
No, I really do think Rover did that.
Oh, God. Oh, and some idiot was, like, looking at the photos, like, look what it drew! Anyway. I don't know. I get the sense, like, from a public imagination standpoint, that it seems to me like the space program has lost its momentum. And see, that's probably wrong, because they've done a lot of awesome missions, but none of them were the moonshot. And that's when everybody was, like, behind the space program to a huge degree. But then again, think about that. People just got bored of it. Go to the moon again. Who cares? And they just they nixed the program because people just were like, eh.
Well, I think too, it's like a lot of people are so short-sighted that it's like, we have people starving here. Why can't we use that money to feed this and feed that and take care of this, and we need health care and we need that, and it's like, dude, you got to be a little bit like, forward thinking in terms of like, what is better for the world, not just what is getting put on your fucking table.
Exactly.
You were concerned about letting Congress tell NASA what to do. I don't think we should go the other way either.
Let the mob. But it's like I always tell people, if you spend the next 1,000 years diverting funds away from space exploration to fill potholes and fill bellies, 1,000 years from now we'll have no more space exploration and like empty bellies and potholes. Like there are certain like intractable problems on Earth that you're never going to solve by just saying fuck everything else until we do this. It's just there are certain problems of the human condition that you can't put everything on hold for. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, that's just my 2 cents.
Okay. It doesn't necessarily like they don't need to be mutually exclusive. You can still have a viable space program and put food on people's table. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
It doesn't make sense.
I'm going to get preachy since you guys brought up budget and viable space program and everything. Just for a second. And not really preachy, but so the mission to Europa, I think they wanted 50 million, was it? For this year, for 2016. And we wound up giving them, I think it was 500 million?
Nice.
So, like, a lot of money, right?
Yeah.
That's about 1/600th of an aircraft carrier.
yes.
I actually have the numbers in front of me. Really, that's about 1/600th of an aircraft carrier. We currently have 10 aircraft carriers deployed, and we're building 3 more. If we just killed one, just stopped building one, like it would save. This is going to sound very awkward, but I'm doing it for a reason. NASA's budget is 500 million. This would save 13,000 million. So
wow.
We're not doing the B&M thing. Oh, only 13 billion. See? No. 13,000 million.
Yeah.
And then the operating cost once that vessel got launched is $7 million a day.
A day,
or about another mission to Europa every 2 months.
2 months. Yes. But Brian, we have to have like 20 like aircraft carriers floating all around the globe to keep like crazy assholes, in different parts of the world in check, right?
I did that math too. If we currently have 10 and we built 2 more, we would still have 2 more than the entire rest of the world combined.
And we would still have like 12 more than ISIS has, right?
Yeah. I mean, I love aircraft carriers and the new Ford model. I mean, it's like John Ford, not like Model T Ford. The new Ford model looks killer. They're unreal. They're amazing. They're antiquated. No one needs that anymore. We have assured mutual destruction. We'll never go to war like that again.
Right. Our wars now are asymmetric wars with crazy groups like ISIS, and potentially theater-spanning wars with like lunatic states like North Korea. Again, I'm not a military strategist, but we've got these like gigantic ships and battle groups. What? for what purpose? I don't know. I'm not trying to say we shouldn't have a military and a powerful one, but you're proposing a modest reduction by one aircraft carrier to fund the space program, and I think that's reasonable.
One aircraft carrier, not the. I'm not even reducing the number of aircrafts you would have built to put on the aircraft carrier. Build them and put them on others, or build them and send them to desert bases, or build them anyway. Just one less. So we're still expanding, actually. We're still building more than we have, so just a little tiny bit slower. And we have 25 years of NASA budgets.
What do you think, Cam?
In the interest of not misrepresenting, of NASA budgets for this mission, not NASA's total budget, but...
Right. NASA's total budget maybe for only 12 years. I mean, yeah, for one aircraft carrier. Yeah, Cam, you agree? I mean, maybe a modest cut in defense spending, say, in exchange for funding this?
I mean, yeah. Well, I'm all for. I'm always for funding for the military. I don't really have a problem with that. But I get what Brian is saying. That those numbers, if those numbers are correct, then it just doesn't make sense not to. But I mean, again, I would say there's probably even other fat that you can trim before you even have to trim the military budget. You know what I mean? There's so many programs out there that are just useless and just wasteful spending that we could easily do away with those and get the same result. So I mean, whether the lawmakers or the people voice their opinion and they want to cut, to take away aircraft carriers, or they want to take away whatever, some other social welfare project or some other road building project or this or that, whatever, I'm for it. I mean, I think we need to put more money into space exploration. Not for us. I mean, look, we're halfway through our lifespans. Chances are, knock on wood, we're going to live out the rest of our days in relative comfort here on Earth, like with no issues, even with global warming and all this other stuff going on. But in what's going to happen in 3, 5, 10 generations? You know what I mean? Our kids and their kids and their kids. And I don't want to be that short-sighted asshole that goes to my grave, like knowing that they're fucked. I mean, it's already pointing to the fact that they are, regardless of what we do. So let's stem the tide.
Our children might be fucked.
Yeah, at least as much as we can. So like, I'm willing to put my money on the table and my tax dollars, which is not insignificant. Not that I'm like tooting my horn, but like I pay a lot of taxes. You know what I mean? And I don't mind if those taxes go towards space exploration. In fact, I want them to, because I think that we need to figure out where we're going to go once this. I mean, look, even if we can solve the environmental problems that are facing us, right, which are dire, but say we can solve them, that doesn't mean that there is not going to be an extinction event in the future, whether it be an asteroid, whether it be just the sun expanding and destroying us. I mean, it's not going to burn forever. You know what I mean? It's a finite resource. So at some point, we're going to have to leave the bonds of this planet and move somewhere else.
Yep.
And I think that analysis needs to happen a lot sooner than later.
Couldn't agree more. And to illustrate how much I agree with you, I saved the last mission that was discussed in the articles I was reading for last, and I thought this kind of put a very poetic flourish on NASA's sort of statement or direction that the committee's direction that they gave NASA. They want, by 2069, so we're talking like we're going to be ancient if we're still alive then, if we even still are. But by 2069, they want to launch an interstellar mission to our nearest stellar neighbor, Alpha Centauri, I believe it is. And they want to do that because it's the 100-year anniversary of the moon landing. And I thought that was really like, well, that's very poetic. That's very nice. And I would fund that today, knowing I would probably never even see that launch, and we'll certainly never see it get anywhere. Absolutely. I think we should be going to Europa, Mars, and beyond. Like, we should. I wish we spent a fraction, as you were saying, Cam, as you were saying, Brian, a fraction of what we spent on other things on space exploration, because the future of the human race literally is dependent on us getting off this planet.
Yeah, I mean, when you have the foremost genius of our time, Hawking, basically saying, like, look, that's our only chance. I tend to believe the guy. You know what
Yes.
I mean? Like I'm not gonna discount what he's saying. He's way smarter than all of us combined. So if he's telling us that that's what we need to figure out, well then we fucking better get on that shit because, you know, it's gonna sneak up on us way faster than we think it is. And just complacency abounds, unfortunately. When it comes to everything, look, I'm not getting down on the human race. Like, we all are who we are. We are at where we're at in terms of our social, I guess, understanding and foresight. But that doesn't mean we can't be better. That doesn't mean we all can't be better. And I'm not saying we need to, like, turn into, like, Star Trek fools, you know? I just mean we need to, like, just be better in any small way that you can, you know? Recycle a little bit, you know? Pick up some trash, do something better, you know, switch your detergent or whatever, you know what I mean? Just do something. Do your part, that's all.
Use a turn signal.
Yeah.
Figure out where the sticker on your license plate goes. It only goes in one place in Florida, just for the record.
Yeah.
No, I agree, Cam. Just be better people is like my mantra.
Yeah.
And I try to practice it myself, but.
Yeah. And don't, you know, when you're in the far left lane on the highway and you realize that your exit is all the way on the right hand side and you're probably not going to miss it. You're probably going to miss it unless you just jag across the whole highway. Why don't you just get off on the next exit and turn around? Don't fuck everyone else up in the 4 lanes that you have to cut off to get over there.
Take one for the team. Don't take out the whole team on your selfish quest to get off on that exit. Yes, absolutely.
Exactly.
That is by far my least favorite part of Orlando.
Traffic?
The driving?
Driving to it, yeah.
Oh, driving to it, and then once you get there, all the tourists. Oh, God. It gives South Florida a run for its money, like, and we're pretty bad down here.
Yes. The self-driving car can't come soon enough, and as soon as it gets here, you should have to get, like, a special license to have a, like, human-driven car. Like, if you actually want to take manual control. Yeah. You need, like, a special license.
Yeah, it's funny you bring that up. I actually rewatched. It was just on randomly, and I was just sitting at home. iRobot with with Will Smith, and we'll have to do a totally different. You know, it's too. You know, we can't do it tonight, but like we can do a different show on like what we think in terms of, and I think it sort of dovetails with this show, which is the complacency of the human nature of human nature. So if we get to the point where robots are doing everything for us. And it also sort of harkens back to what we talked about with like the universal income and all that stuff or whatever. Like, is that going to stop us from wanting to advance? You know what I mean? If you're just chilling and a robot is doing everything that, you know, we have poor people doing, basically, or, you know, the jobs that no one else wants to do, or you know, and it's getting us it's almost like I referred to WALL-E earlier. It's almost like the whole WALL-E thing. Like if we're just sitting in our chairs and we're getting fed and we're getting entertainment and we're getting whatever, are we just going to fall into that complacency, or is that actually going to help us focus our interests on more altruistic things and better things for society?
I
don't know.
God, I want to get into this really bad right
now. Next week.
Yeah, I think you're going to see a splitting of a 20% of like earnest, altruistic people and an 80% contingent of just like blobs, you know, floating around on hoverboards, eating Cheetos and watching TV. Like,
yeah.
I think we actually tackled this tonight. Like Tom was saying, like, we can't let like people with no imagination dictate NASA either. Like, I mean, you can have no imagination. That's fine. Sit around and eat your Cheetos and, you know, live your life and whatever. But you don't get to choose the direction of the race.
Yeah. Well, I think there's also a big danger in letting one group decide. Like, that's why we have checks and balances in the government. You know what I mean? As flawed as it is, I still think it's the best system around. And so you can't just let the eggheads decide, and you can't just let Congress decide, and you can't just let people decide, because then all of our rockets will be like Rockety McRocketface. And, you know what I mean? Like you can't, and we'd be going to like just some random part of this, you know, galaxy to try to find parties. But like we have to like it has to be a collaborative effort, and it has to be checks and balances. The eggheads need to say, look, this is really what we need, but then Congress needs to sort of rein them in and be like, look, okay, we understand that, but we also need this, and if you want to keep interest and you want people to stay behind it, you want funding, we got to, do a little, couple sexier projects, and you have to have the people saying, well, okay, those are great, but we also want this, and it has to be a collaborative effort. And again, it goes back to, do we have that collaboration? Are we at the level of a species where we can sort of come together?
Not yet.
No.
Maybe by 2069.
Yeah.
Maybe. Yeah. Of the three basic pillars of society you just mentioned there, Cam, the eggheads, the elected officials, and the mob, I don't need to tell you which one I have the least faith in.
Right. But the problem is, it's not that far apart either, though. You know what I mean? You have the least faith in one, but the other two are not too far behind. Even the eggheads get a little too far. You know what I mean? It's just.
I agree.
We're gonna fire up this Large Hadron Collider.
Yeah.
Pretty decent chance it's gonna destroy the world. But it's gonna be cool if it doesn't.
Yeah, it'll just be a small anomaly that will only, maybe suck in Switzerland. That's about it.
Awesome. Well, anyway, I think next week, the imaginative superclass or something like that. Well, we should revisit our thoughts on society and why nerds should be running it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I definitely think if I were running things, if I had my comeuppance, I would say we need to put together a panel of elected officials, of respected people in the scientific community, and just common people as well. Put them all together on a committee. Give no one faction more power than the other, and let them decide the future of space exploration. Give them a secure budget, regardless of what they're doing or what they're not doing. They need to, a secure budget that they're not worried where, Congress can come in and just be like, we don't like that, so if you do that, we're going to cut off your funding next year or whatever. They need to have almost sort of like the Supreme Court. Well, no matter what they do, they know that they're in for life or whatever.
I see, yeah. So there's no revisiting for appropriations every few years or whatever.
Right. They need to have an insulated budget. They need to be able to have the, security to do, the financial security to do what they think is right for all of us, but then they have to do it together. You know what I mean? You can't just have one faction leading the other or two factions coming up with whatever. They need to be, either unanimous or like a super majority of like 80%. You know what I'm saying?
I like that.
I think that would probably get us at least the best compromise possible.
I like that. I like the addition of like a citizens advisory board or something like that. That's cool.
Right.
Cool. All right. We declare that it will be so.
Let it be so.
Awesome. Well, this conversation went exactly as well as I thought it would. I knew you guys would have some cool insights and would get where I was coming from with trying to strike that balance between, what the runaway nerd will do and what the pragmatic or corrupt congressman might think versus what I want the potholes and bellies filled here on Earth first person might think about things. So. Yeah.
So NSA, we know you're watching. Just forward this on to whoever needs to read this and get it done.
Hopefully, there's a sci-fi reader, monitoring this particular transmission.
Especially after all the U.S. aircraft carrier.
They're gonna be like, screw these guys. Get rid of them.
These damn aircraft carriers. These damn subversives trying to gut our military.
Like I said, I'm all for aircraft carriers. Let's just cut something stupid,
We'll probably have like 40 more aircraft carriers depending on who gets elected. But anyway, maybe
we could build the new spacecraft with the old metal from the old aircraft carriers that we're replacing. How's that?
I love it. Repurpose the steel.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Anyway, this was an awesome episode. I enjoyed speaking with you about it, and I hope, audience, you were also entertained. Anything else you guys want to cover on this topic before we re-enter the atmosphere?
I think I'm good.
All right. Okay, let's hope our thermal panels hold as we re-enter the atmosphere. I will remind our listeners, though, that regardless of whether or not we crash to Earth in one piece, they could check out all of our archival footage and any future footage we put out there having survived our crash landing by checking us out on iTunes, checking us out on Stitcher, or checking us out on my new favorite service, Google Play Music.
Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter and Instagram, add us to your Google circles, and join the Nerdstravaganza HQ group on Facebook.
Hop in your aircraft carrier and fire on over to nerdstravaganza.com, our newly repurposed website. Jump into your dinghy and float on over to YouTube, which you may or not already be on. Type in Nerdstravaganza into the handy-dandy search bar and check out all of the video content we have to offer, including all of our recent episodes and video and board game reviews. And then shoot us an email at nerdstravaganza@gmail.com and let us know what your favorite flavor of astronaut ice cream is.
Nice. And with this mission now complete, Brian, or Houston, I guess I should say, take us away.
Nuclear vessels.
Nuclear vessels. That's good.
Good one, yeah. Good night.
See you guys.